Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Business Spotlight. Again, my name is Megan, and today I get the pleasure of talking to Kevin, and he is the founder of VetX Ventures and also a veteran himself. So welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Megan. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and really appreciate you putting this together and having a chat with me.
Yeah, and we spoke a little bit before this of just myself being a part of a military family. And so there's that connection point there. But also, I loved hearing all of the things that you're working on with VetX Ventures and just really inside the community. So, just to kind of get us started, I would love for you to just introduce yourself and just speak on a little bit of what VetX Ventures is.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, my name's Kevin Knight. I'm a retired Marine. I've been an entrepreneur for about 8 years now, and my newest venture is VetX Ventures. And what we're doing is really trying to invest in veteran-owned companies and provide the tools and resources for creative problem-solving entrepreneurs to really go after their passion. And we try to help by investing in them, providing a business accelerator, and ultimately our goal is to have them hiring more veterans and families of veterans and other folks in the community while also giving back to the community. I think veterans can play a strong role moving forward in sustainable companies that are treating the employees right. And that's really what I want to focus on through VetX Ventures.
Yeah, I love that. And, I would totally agree too. I know some of the hardest workers and really some of the most creative entrepreneurs that I've come across are coming from the military community. And it's just because it's just a different type of feel. And so I would love for you to speak on one of your newer businesses that you just took on and kind of how you acquired them and really what you've done as far as helping them kind of get to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was fortunate enough to work a deal with a local veteran-owned company. 702 Cleanup Crew is a veteran-owned, family-owned, local power washing and commercial cleaning company. And what I really loved about the business meeting Evan was how passionate he was about one, being a great dad, being a strong member of the community, but also being very passionate about providing power washing service. Now, where he needed a little bit of help was on structuring the business to grow and be able to keep up with the demand that he has, and kind of giving him more time to be with his family and streamlining the business. So he's our first company through the Veteran Business Accelerator, which is partnered with the Southern Nevada Veterans Chamber. And it's a 90-day program where we're putting them on our growth platform, which is our own CRM system, and then building out, different landing pages, a sales process, and then building a path towards employing veterans, working with local groups like US Vets who are helping homeless veterans get off the streets and back into the workforce. And so we think that's a way we can kind of bridge that gap, bringing them back into the workforce, and also building a sustainable company. But most importantly, Evan's a great power washer and he's very passionate about it. And so being able to empower him to pursue his passions is something that we're very thankful for and excited about.
I really enjoy that. And I definitely find that those that have found that passion have really clued into what their purpose is for moving forward through life. And I would love for you to just speak a little bit more into that because you said that a few times. So I feel like that's also what drives you, if I'm going to kind of take this leap here. And so what is it that is that driver for you, that is that passion point for you, that had you get started in entrepreneurship and really take this on?
Yeah, I think for me personally, throughout my career in the Marine Corps, you know, I had a lot of opportunities to make stressful decisions and have to kind of follow my intuition and trust myself when making these decisions, which helped me kind of build the process of evaluating situations, looking for creative solutions, weighing multiple risks where there seems to be really no good outcome, and then trusting yourself and going after that. And for me, my passion was serving others. So as a leader in the Marines, when we deployed with young men, my ultimate goal was to, bring all of them home safely and serve them and their families and try to take the best care of them that I could. Fast forward to becoming a veteran, as a 28-year-old retired, medically retired Marine, it was tough not having that ability to serve people in a way that you knew you were really making an impact. And so I think for veteran entrepreneurs, especially, finding that passion, or at least a vehicle to get to that passion, allows you to really focus and not think too much about maybe you're not doing a good enough job, or you peaked at a younger age when you had all this responsibility. And so for me, coupled with, some of the veteran suicide stuff going on that's, personally touched me and a lot of people, I think providing stable jobs with companies that understand where they're coming from is very important for, everybody. And with Las Vegas being such a big veteran community, I feel like this is a great place to start trying to make a dent on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I've had conversations with other veteran-owned businesses, and really it's that same theme of, how can we empower these veterans to come in and either be the employees and really get them to see, okay, you can use these skills that you've worked so hard to create, and this person that you've been creating for yourself, and then even on the other side of creating these businesses. And I think, just like you said before, it's really that empowerment piece, where it's easy to feel that disempowerment. And I know my brother, he's a veteran as well, and that's something that he really struggled through, very similarly, of, okay, I was doing this over here, and so now how do I do it as a civilian? And so yeah, I've had lots of conversations in that gap, and even through my work in coaching too, it's kind of figuring out, okay, what kind of different supports do they need, what different avenues and outlets would best support them personally as well as professionally. So I love
Right.
everything that you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. And I think helping them find that passion and being fulfilled by, serving others or giving back to the community, I think that's a big, big part of it as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I would definitely go as far to say, especially, in my own family, I know this to be true, that they, anybody that goes into the military, it's you're leading with a servant's heart. And so I also feel, coming into like the business world, that's, in my opinion, the best business owner is somebody that is really leading with that servant's heart, and then again giving them the support, either financially or skills, then saying, okay, let's build all these other things up too to really support what it is that you want to create. So all the good
Definitely.
things. So what would you say are some things that were like maybe directly or indirectly transferable from your experience being in military and in that leadership role, and then how that's now being applied to business?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest transferable skills is operational planning and execution. So as you're going through the planning process for, any type of operation, all of the different boxes you're checking during that planning process, and then also the back briefing, or an after action report on what went well, what went wrong, and how we can improve that process. And those little, I think, fundamental skills of leadership and planning are often overlooked by companies I work with, where they'll have a marketing campaign, and then they won't really evaluate the effectiveness of it, and will continue on without, kind of going in blindly. And of course, in the military, we couldn't really do that because of the risk level. So we, I think, look at things from many different perspectives during the decision-making process. And so for me, it was about finding creative solutions to problems that you've never really come across by being able to just go back into your toolbox and remember a certain part of training or a book that you read and implementing that. And so I think as I got into the entrepreneurial world, that was just a part of me that was so, it just ran on its own very subconsciously. And so that has been a big help for evaluating market expansion or launching a new business idea. I think it's given me a little bit more courage to just kind of go for it, knowing that, you know, things won't always work out, but I have the tools to fall back on and adjust accordingly.
Yeah, and that's absolutely our approach as well. Test and measure is, you know, a main pillar of ours here at Action Coach. And because, you know, just like you said, it's if you don't know what's working and what's not working, then how do you really know how well anything is? And
Right.
especially when it comes to the finance part, I mean, there is a lot of risk that comes into business ownership and entrepreneurship, and but it's really going into that calculated risk, and it can only be
Mm,
calculated if it's actually tracked and you have the
right.
numbers. so
Right.
so yeah, absolutely, I would definitely agree. That's having that
And one more
advice for
thing too
sure.
is I think people often try to avoid the minefield per se as they're going through their business journey, and they might not want to look at the accounting books because they don't, you know, they'd rather look at the cool marketing piece
Yeah.
they just put out, or, you know, there's a lot of things that they just don't want to look at. I've learned that never gets better with time, and the sooner you address those items, you know, the more likely you will to be successful on your journey. So that's another
Yeah.
piece. I think uncovering the ugly part as quickly as you can is important and should be thought about as well.
Oh yeah, I know. I find it interesting because oftentimes I'll go through the money mindset that people have. And something like that often does come up. And it's kind of this like out of sight, out of mind kind of thinking, and that avoidance of, well, if I just don't look at it,
Mm,
then I won't have to deal with it, or you know, and I can pretend that it's not that bad. And again, you know, just like you said, it's let's just hit it head on, because then we know what we're working with, we know what we're dealing with, then we know how or if we need to pivot. So it's
right.
that knowledge and awareness is helpful for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. So what would you say is maybe like your biggest piece of advice, or the your biggest aha that you had, maybe even recently, that, you know, as being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, that you're like, man, like, I wish I would have known this then.
I think I wish I would have known earlier that there isn't much benefit in trying to expedite the timeline of when you'll reach the point of being able to really be successful, because the path you're on, you're not quite sure where it's ending or where you're going to have an aha moment. It's very important to be in the moment and learn. Some of the best advice I've learned as an entrepreneur was when I was with a company called Vacasa, that is a vacation rental management company. And I started when the founders were still very involved, like a family, and
Mm,
was able to watch, you know, how they talked behind closed doors about their strategy and their thought process. And then now they're, you know, publicly traded as a company. So being able to see that, if I would have skipped past that and left early to start my own management company, then I would have likely crashed and burned, and, you know, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. So I think even though you might feel like you want to speed up the timeline, understand that the best leaps you'll make are learning as much as you can in the moment, because you'll
mm.
never know when that one piece that you learned will come back years later, and now you already know a problem to that complicated solution, just because of where you were at that time. So I think that's a pretty big one. A lot of people want to
Yeah.
hurry up and start a company, or hurry up and be an influencer, or hurry up and get the microphone to speak, where they're leaving a lot of value, and whatever their passion may be, they might not be able to pursue it fully if they leave too much of that behind.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And I do find that there is value in kind of sitting in some of that sometimes of, it's this may be uncomfortable, or maybe this isn't where you want to be, so to speak. But like you said, there's value in, like, you're there for a reason. And if you don't really get a chance to see it, then you're gonna miss something that, may take you further back a little bit.
Right.
And
And on the flip side, I think you can also stay too long. So I
yes.
think that you also need to recognize that when you're working for a company or what have you, taking a salary, there's a lot of control that they have. And if it's not an environment that works for your own personal mental health, then, that's definitely, you don't want to stick around to see if it'll get better next year because your boss promised you a promotion that they haven't delivered on the previous couple of years.
Yeah.
So that's another
Yeah.
piece, is finding that right balance of how long to stay without staying too long.
Yeah, that little sweet spot that's, it's almost like the unicorn of of like,
Right.
when is the time? And I mean, really just kind of on that same subject, when did you know for you that it was time to like take that leap into the like scary unknown of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so for me, my first company was actually an ATM machine company while I was on active duty. And I was getting my hair cut, and they were a cash only barber shop without an ATM machine.
Nice.
So by the time I walked to the store and came back, I had all these thoughts running through my mind, like most entrepreneurs. And
Yes.
I ended up having an ATM machine shipped there a week later, and that was my first real business, called Kevin's ATM. And
I love
I didn't know what I was really doing, but I ended up selling the business a few years later after I got out of the military. And so that, being able to control my own destiny from that
it.
perspective was always something appealing for me. And for me personally, I didn't always fit too well with the cultures of working for a boss. I just, didn't always agree with their decisions. And I'm the type of person that will speak up, and that type of thing, not in a
Yeah.
bad way, but it just was better for me to be able to make my own decisions and bring in people that I worked well with, and we jived well. And so that's when I also knew I definitely need to control my own fate. And it was a time where a lot of people were being laid off in my industry as well. And so I saw long tenured employees, and it was like, okay, I know where I need to go. Now's the time I need to, take the leap. And that was in 2019, where I was off
Mm.
full time.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
Yeah. So sometimes it's just like, all right, it's go time. Like now
yeah,
or never kind of thing. Yeah,
right.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, so to just kind of wrap up for this, spotlight hour, what would you say would be like the one thing that you would want to leave our viewers with, like this one little nugget that you just want to speak into them for today?
Yeah, I think as a founder, one of the most important things and most satisfying things I've had to be able to do is help others and find a community or a group of people, whether it be veterans or teachers or the elderly, and serve them as best as you can, and your team members and customers. Some of my best friends are some of my customers that I manage their properties for. And I was very intentional about making every decision with all of my customers in mind, who were, my employees and my homeowners. And so I think if you stay true to really trying to serve others as a founder, because it's very easy to be greedy. I think it's very hard for sometimes to really push all in on giving back as well. And I think through that comes sustainable businesses that can survive all sorts of different economic ups and downs, because you're really leading with your end user and customers and employees in mind. So I think that's a great way. Sometimes as a leader, you have to look in the mirror and not always out the window. So I think that that's important, being true to yourself, finding what drives you, and giving back as much as you can. For me, that's helped out with a lot of, mental health struggles that I've had over the years, knowing that I was able to send a family to Big Bear to stay in a, $1,500 a night cabin for a few days where they may have never been able to do that, is something that I'll remember, forever. And so I think personally, that's very important.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
please share all of your, how can people get in touch with you? And is there anything that you have going on right now that you would like people to know about?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm on LinkedIn, Kevin Knight, locally here, Vegas. You'll recognize me, and then also VetX_Ventures on Instagram. If you want to follow along some of the companies, we do some behind the scenes of the accelerator. That's something that you could definitely tune in with. And then, of course, if you need power washing locally, definitely reach out to me or 702 cleanup crew, and we'd love to help you out.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so, so much, Kevin. And it's been such a pleasure speaking with you and just having you share just about your journey and expertise.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. I really appreciate this, and also what you're doing just for local entrepreneurs. And it can be a lonely journey, as folks know. So
Yeah.
interacting, and this is very good, I think, for entrepreneurs. So really
Yeah.
appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And we're here to build a community and see what happens. So
Definitely.
yeah. So thank you. And thank you everybody else who's tuned in. And that's another Business Spotlight.